All right. Good night, everybody. No, this is the worst part of the show because I don't know what to say when I see zero men, zero men inside the thing. Well, actually, people joining in. So good night, everybody. Good night. Welcome to episode 2 of the SSFL show with myself, Liu Chen, from the Interception, and of course Enrique, the pundit Rupert. So of course round 13 on Saturday had action, but I believe it's still round 13 tomorrow, Tuesday, right, Enrique?
Yeah.
Right, because there had some fixtures of people who have cancelled games and whatnot. Now everybody now on the same page. So what we're going to do, we will start with the action from. Well, actually, we will start as early as last week Wednesday, right? Big game because we didn't get to talk about it, Enrique. Prez beating Naps 1-0 in Lewis Street. I see men calling that the greatest goal ever scored in Lewis Street and all kind of thing. I don't know how you feel about
For me, I think it was good game awareness by Josiah Bain. Mikel Clement could count himself as a little bit unfortunate because I mean it was a good save initially. Unfortunately, he just got the ricochet off the bar and bounced off his head back into the goal. But like when it comes to these types of tournaments and the title race, that those are the types of opportunities that you need to take with both hands. And I think Presentation College, they definitely deserved to win that game. Naparima, they had way too many chances that they didn't take, and at the end of the day, the one that Prez did take went in. So that is what champions are made of. They are the ones who take the opportunities and are successful. So it was a good victory at the end of the day for Presentation, and they move one step closer to that top of the table.
Yeah, you say that's what champions are made of. So we're saying Prez winning the league.
Definitely not, in my opinion. It was definitely one step closer for them to do that. They haven't won a title since like the league title since like 2017, 18 or 19, somewhere around there. So it will be. It was an important goal in the context of them, getting one step closer to back in that, title picture.
Yeah, for sure. Good night, everybody joining in. Jaden Thomas, Jelani Roberts, real SBC men in the anything. I think it's because the thumbnail had a SBC man in it, and they see title race on and they get excited and they joining in. But that's good vibes. Anyway, yeah. So that was a big game. So let's go into the action from Saturday, right? So again, we could stick on Naparima College because they winless in 2 games, right? They defeated Prez on Wednesday and then a draw with San Juan North on Saturday. What do you think about this? Because just last week, Enrique, we were talking about Naps running away with the title. It's all in their hands. They have the game in hand, and then in the snap of a finger, it's almost, well, we look at the table after, but it's no longer, it's still in their hands, but the title race is well and truly on, and you could almost say it's a 4-horse race.
Yeah, for sure. At this point, with and then you still have Naparima and St. Benedict's to play each other.
Correct.
Top of the table clash. I think Presentation also have to play. No, Presentation played Fatima this weekend already.
This weekend,
it really could go either way right now. But you could clearly see that the top 4 has been the 4 that has been there for the last number of years. So it's not surprising to me that all 4 of them are once again contending for the title. But yeah, no, that was a huge result for Sour Notes over the weekend. Getting that 1-1 draw in the context that they also trying to survive right now. But for Naparima, I'm not sure if it's just complacency setting in, or if it's just fatigue setting in, but definitely something is setting in, and dropping 4 points, actually 5 points in your last two games when you had a 5 point lead 2 rounds ago is quite massive. So you know, St. Benedict's hot on their heels, looking to overtake them this weekend here. La Prima, again, they have a really hard fixture tomorrow. While St. Benedict's, on the other hand, they have, the up and down Malik secondary. So it will be an interesting
Yeah. Enrique, I think you drop off there. I don't know if it's me. Um, if you have any comments, let me know if it is Enrique drop off or if it's my connection. I know 100. Yeah, it's Enrique. So he's sorting that out. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Naprima College and SBC football, Jaden will tell you that you know, you have been hot on their heels. It started off kind of shaky for St. Benedict's. I guess that's why people were saying, I see Jelani saying, a certain man saying that Benedict's out of the title race. It was really looking so at the point in time. Yeah, Enrique dropped off, so he's sorting it out, so he'll be back in. But yeah, it was definitely slow start for Benedict's. Of course, he had the defeat to Fatima in the Super Cup, which was young players, we understand that. But then they also had the defeat to Fatima in the league as well. Look, Enrique coming back now. Yeah, you good now?
I don't know what's going on with Flo tonight, but clearly,
Pino.
yeah, that's not just payment on.
A man say Enrique drop off, just like how Naps dropping off the title. Good. But yeah. So yeah, as I was just saying, somebody in the comments was saying that you know, people Benedict's not in the title race and that kind of thing. And that was an understandable take because it was a slow start. And then of course losing Darrell Garcia was a big thing as well for St. Benedict's. Although we know that they were still a good team, we didn't really expect them to keep up that momentum. So actually, it's quite impressive that they've managed to kind of a consistency and not be in the title race, just waiting for Naps to kind of fall off. And the other day, the game got postponed, and it seems that it could be a blessing in disguise for Benedict's because they might get to play Naps in a time where they are the form team and Naps is the team kind of scrambling and under pressure. You know what I mean?
I guess there are some benefits to lighting your school on fire. But I
Oh,
think
gosh,
when you really look at it is a blessing in disguise for SPC. Naprima were flying high at that point in time, and then all of a sudden that one little break and SPC started on a hot streak, and they've continued that hot streak. But yeah, no, I always expected SPC to finish top four, but I think what we've seen from them is extraordinary. To beat this close in the title race at this point in the season, considering the start that they had, I think it's a credit to just how good the players have come to the front and stepped up in a time when they needed somebody to step up. You have Josiah Ochoa, who's on 9 goals. You have Elijah David, who's been on a scoring streak in the last 2 or 3 games. I think Jalen Forbes is also on 5 goals. So they found goals from different people this season, and I think it's really good to see different players step up at different times for SPC to get them where they are at right now in the context of the title race.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about Fatima College. So they actually started off the season pretty well, as we said, winning the Super Cup, and then believe they had an unbeaten run at the beginning of the season, yeah. And then of course getting licks from Naps the other day. A close encounter at Arima North. They look a bit shaky in terms of the scoreline. And then a draw at Prez Sando this weekend. Of course, Prez is a formidable team, so not necessarily a bad result, but I think we have seen a decline in the Fatima College performance. And although points-wise, they're still in the mix, you think that they still have a shot at winning the title?
I think right now it's really open. Any one of those top four teams could win the title at this point. And I think people are also discounting Signal Hill, who still have 9 games in hand.
Yeah, yeah, boy.
They also they, they still can mathematically win the league. Um, if they win all 9 games, they'll finish on 39 points because they still have SVC as well as Naprima, I believe, to play. So those are two are the top four teams that they still have to play. And honestly, if factors go in their favor, I honestly believe that Signal Hill are to be a force to be reckoned with. But in terms of Fatima, considering that they have one of the or considering that they have a relatively young squad as
Yeah,
compared to previous Fatima teams, I think they're still doing extremely well to maintain the second to good position on the table. Um, but at the end of the day, this is a league where experience can help you to win the title. Um, and I think as the season comes to a close, in terms of the league season comes to a close, you're seeing, where some of that inexperience may kick in. Because, you're looking at the Arima North game last week, you're seeing they leading 4-1. Then you see the score change to 4-2.
yeah,
Then she's changed to 5-2. And you see 5-3. And you see 5-4. And the game finishes 6-4. And it's really crazy that you blew, or you almost blew
yeah,
4 goal cushion like that. So,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I think they definitely need to dig deep in order to maintain where they are at right now. But I think definitely in the next 2 seasons, this Fatima team will definitely be still at the top end of the table.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, we had Samuel Joe Naps. We spoke about that, and Arima North beating Trinity East 4-2. So that will kind of bring us into our relegation battle discussion now. So I'll show up the table now. As we could see at top there, it's very close. 1 to 4, all separated by 1 point each. So you have Naps on 28, you have Benedict's on 27, Fatima on 26, Presentation on 25. But of course, Naps and Benedict's have that game in hand over Fatima and Presentation. But let's look at the bottom of the table, and we're looking between positions 11 and position 14. We have 4 teams on 9 points. Now,
5 points.
in my view,
4 5.
no disrespect. Huh?
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're correct.
In, in my view, right? We're now 4 or 5, yeah, 4 teams.
Yeah, it's four. It's
Yeah.
four. It's four. It's four.
Looking, yeah, and I'll check it there. So Scarborough and Carpichima, I think they'll go down. Now we have to remember Scarborough also have games in hand, right, over Carpichima, but they still level with the likes of Sanwa North, Malek, Trinity East, and Trinity East, and one less played than Gustin. So what's really the fight up for me in this relegation zone is position number 14, right? I think Scarborough and Carpichima, I don't want to say we could safely say, but as it stands, we can say that those are the teams that will probably go down. I don't know what you think about it, but as good as they started, it's really not looking too good for St. Augustine Secondary. And as we go forward, they still have to play. They played Salmon North already. They played Malik already. They haven't played Trinity East yet. They played Scarborough already. And they played Carpichima already. So they've played almost all the teams in that relegation battle, barring Trinity East. You understand what I'm saying? And when they came up against the stronger teams, it hasn't been too pretty. That 8-0 to Naps. So the game against Trinity East will be a big one, right? But what do you think about this relegation battle? Because for me, last week, Well, I always watching the relegation battle. My school somehow tends to be there on an annual basis as of late, right? Um, and you would have said that the league was really going in the direction of the relegation being the highlight, but Naps now kind of falling off, kind of bring excitement to the whole league. If you really look at it, it's a real close league table.
I mean, it is the first time since starting to cover this league that the two ends of the table are just close. You have the top four separated by 1 point each. Then you have the bottom five separated, four of them on the same amount of points. Then you have, well, Karpichama is definitely going down. Mathematically, it's impossible for them to stay up at this point,
Yeah.
um, unless by some miracle both Trinity College East and St. Augustine lose every single one of their last games by a significant amount of goals. That is the only way Carrickford will stay up. And considering that they have to play two of the top three on the table in their last three fixtures, I
Yeah.
think it is safe to say that Carrickford are going back to the championship. Scarborough, I think they still in with a chance. I don't think it's mathematically over for them yet. They still have 5 games to go. And they teams going across to Tobago will have to be very wary of them. It's not easy to go across to Tobago and play. It's a bunch of factors that you have to consider in that. And I'm pretty sure out of those 5 fixtures, at least 2 of them will be in Tobago. So I'm not gonna say that for sure Scarborough is going down. But for me, the interesting part of this table is 11 to 14. When you look at Sawa North, you look at Trinity Colleges, you look at St. Augustine. Um,
Now, let me not interrupt you, but
yeah, but
interrupt you. Trinity is all so it's really really interesting for Trinity, especially, right? And there's no bias thing, but really because Trinity still have to play Gustin and they still have to play Scarborough as well. So that's a kind of interesting dynamic in terms of the relegation, in terms of, well, gaining points, obviously, but also suppressing your opposition, because
yeah,
let's say Trinity beats Gustin, right? That's maintaining a 3 point gap. And Gustin have to play um, Pres Sando tomorrow in Mani Ramjon. Difficult. Trinity East play QRC tomorrow, a fixture where they could get something out of it. Obviously, they're not going in as the favourites, but you never know what QRC you're getting, and you never know what Trinity East you're getting, to be honest. So I think it's really interesting in their context, and there's really pressure on them to win those 2 games are the games where they have to win. You know what I mean?
I think so. I saw them play against Arima North on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think the break that they had did not do them any favors. The couple games before that I saw them play, they were looking a lot better, and I think it's
Yeah, yeah,
because they caught the momentum. But I think that little break that they had recently definitely didn't do them any favors because they started off on the back foot against Arima, and Arima honestly should have won that game about 10 goals to 2.
yeah.
Um, if it wasn't for one, some really good saves by Trinity's goalkeeper, and then
Yeah.
two, just some poor finishing on Arima North's side. But I think they definitely will have to hope that they start back to catch that form going into these last 5 games that they have. Because like I said, that break did not do them any favors. They did not look the Trinity East that I saw in the games prior, when they started looking a little more fluid and a little more better. Um, but I think if they continue utilizing the tactic that they used against Arima North, I think they will find some success. I'm not gonna obviously say it just in case we have other people watching, but I think the tactic that they utilized against Arima North definitely was the 2 goals that they scored was the reason for because of the tactic. So
Okay.
um, like you said, St. Augustine, they don't really have it easy. For having such a good team on paper, I think they've been pretty poor. It didn't help, obviously, with them losing the 3 points against CIC, because otherwise they would have been 10 to 11 on the table, because they would have had 12 points, or no, 10 points. They would have been 11 on the table with 10 points. So, it's just like simple things like that, could decide whether you survive, or you win a title. Sawa North and Malik, I think those are two schools that on their day, especially if they play at home, um, well, Sawa North specifically, if they play at home, they could get points off of you, and
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
Sawa North at home. Malik, while they always score a lot of goals, they always concede a lot of goals, and that has been happening to them for the last 3 seasons running. So, I think what the coach would need to work on is how to keep a clean sheet, because I don't think Malik Secondary have kept a clean sheet for this entire season. So I think
That's
going
a
forward,
concern.
and they've conceded 26 goals and they've scored 21. Like I said, their goals for and their goals against are always really close. But I think
Yeah,
going
yeah,
forward into these last 5 games, they're going to need to try to keep clean sheets, while scoring goals on their opponents.
yeah. Big up, Mali Dan, Jelani Roberts, Jaden Thomas, everybody commenting. Um, and yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Malik and Sawanot, because Sawanot take on CIC tomorrow. In Sawa. Interesting game, because I believe St. Mary's got a rest over the weekend, and Sawa got a good result against Naps over the weekend. So they have that
I think
momentum. And
I think
and you
so. I think
mentioned Trinidad.
Sour North is going to cause some serious trouble for St. Mary's tomorrow, and I think they're going to be going into that game with a lot of confidence, considering that they held the league leaders to a draw, a 1-1 draw at that. I think St. Mary's are probably, I think, like I said, the breaks are not helping any of these teams.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I don't think St. Mary's have played in over 7 days, because I don't believe they played last week, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they played. Yeah, they didn't play last week Wednesday. Their game was
Okay.
postponed to November 2nd, so they have not played in over 7 days, and I think that is definitely going to be a serious issue for them tomorrow.
Interesting, interesting. So it will be interesting to see what goes on in that one. And then, of course, you have Malik. You mentioned that, they score, but they concede. They're coming up against a St. Benedict's team who, not too long ago, scored how much it is against Carpichaima?
12, I believe.
12.
Yeah,
A
12.
St. Benedict's team who, in this form. And you know the thing about it, what we saw, I believe it was the year before, um, the year before last, when Fatima won the league with Shaves and them, right?
Right.
The year Benedict started off a bit slow, and then coming down to the end of the season, they just put together this run. They didn't win the league. I believe they finished second that year. Yeah, they did. Fatima won. Actually, yeah, that's
I
the
don't.
year
I don't think they
Treasury
came second. I think they came third that year. I
third.
think
But I remember
presentation.
they put together like a winning streak coming down to
Right.
the end of that season. We seeing it similar here as well. And you wonder, and it's like, okay, Man City, right? You know how like at the end of the season, City just win games coming down to the business end of the season. You think it is, and Benedict's men who in the chat will like to hear this. They will like to sell for this. But you think that they just have that know-how and that edge and experience at this stage of the season to just get it done. Like, even if they don't win the league, they're just kind of unstoppable, at this stage in the game.
Um, different teams have different mentalities, and different players have different mentalities. And I think what I've seen from St. Benedict's, not only the players but the fans, is that they have a serial winning mentality. Um, they could be last in the league, and I feel like they would still feel like, St.
They can win
Benedict's.
the league.
Yeah, no, it's somewhat annoying to extent, to be honest. But I think that's just how their mentals are wired. And like I said, it's not only the fans but the players as well too. I think regardless of where they are on the table, I think they still believe that they could that they could come out on top. And I think that is, like I said, champions have a different mentality to the rest of people on the planet, and I think cinematics have the right mentality, and I think it definitely shows in their footballing aspirations.
Yeah. Somebody say Enrique will never agree, but he agree. Shomali, Cromwell, and Cyrus respectfully saying one Benny and never two. Well, Benedict's man on the inside, boy. But yeah, definitely. So interesting games. Arimano taking on Trinity Mocha. Mid-table clash, as we said last week. Trinity Mocha, that 15 points should be safety for them. And while Arimano, we never expected them to get relegated. They're just that solid mid-table team. And I believe that obviously everybody is playing to win the league, but I don't get the impression that they focus on the league, but they look forward to Intercol. Like, I believe that they know they could win East Zone, although Trinity win in East Zone this year. And then, the cup, because they are that kind of team where they're defensively solid, so they could get here on the day. They could score and park a bus, beat you, penalties, they could beat you. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's that they don't want to win the league.
No, not that they don't want to win the league, but it's like, some teams are like cup sides as opposed to like Chelsea.
I get what you say, but I don't think is not wanting to win the league. I think Arima North's problem is that they have extremely talented players.
Yeah, they
who
do.
solely rely on their talent, and they don't want to put in the work to be just more than talented players. Is probably a mental block that some of them have. Because if we're being real, a lot of those players from Arima North Secondary come from the ghetto. And aspiring to be better, I guess, is something that they have to learn a lot harder than other people who may be a little more fortunate or a little more privileged. But like I said, they rely way too much on their talent and not work hard. And I've heard it from the coaches of Arima North, the staff of Arima North. Is more or less just a discipline issue with them, with those players. Otherwise, because when you look at Arima North secondaries, players, player for player, they are definitely some of the best players in this league. But they just have not found that next step. And Arima North in 2023, I believe they came 4th or 5th on the table. Last year they came 6th or 7th on the table, and this year I've seen them again 7, 8. They always in that mid-table range. But it's just a couple, factors or a little more discipline player-wise that they need in order to ensure that they come top 4. They win the league. They, not only win the East Zone, but, win the national intercol as well. And I think it's definitely something that the players themselves need to work on in order to take that next step and in order to be champions.
Yeah, definitely. And see, Chino going out Man City. Yeah, boy, pressure this weekend. Good night, King. You miss a whole lot, boy. We actually carry capital. I don't watch over the video, but we gonna talk about the final game of the game week, the big one. Let me just show you something, Enrique. Hold on, again. Get out his way. Just give me a second. Okay. I think my all right. Why is not working just now, eh? Alright, forget. I was trying to pop a picture of Tobago. Anyway, the Tobago Derby, of course, is also tomorrow. Scarborough Secondary versus Signal Hill Secondary. Of course, Enrique, you will be there. You'll be in Tobago. Um, Huge game. You mentioned Signal Hill could actually mathematically win the league. Of course, they have looked the stronger out of the two Tobago teams, as you can see, 12 points from their 6 games. So 12 out of a possible 18 is not bad at all. Um, Surely we expect Signal Hill to come out on top in that one.
Yeah, I think the only problem with Signal Hill is they're gonna have to treat this as a, I wouldn't say training session, but they will have to treat it as a way of getting back some type of rhythm. They have not played in
Mm,
a very long time, Signal Hill. Not their
yeah,
fault, obviously. Just other factors that not in their control. But they're gonna have to treat this Scarborough game as a glorified training session in order to get back that rhythm. I think they're gonna probably start off really slow and build their way into the game.
yeah,
But they're gonna have to hope that they do get a victory over Scarborough. It will definitely give them a lot of confidence going forward. And I think, you know, the coaches as well also have to bear in mind that they're gonna have a lot of games to play in a very short space of time. So it
yeah,
would be to rest some of their key personnel as well too, get some of those other players some playing time, and really just try to get everybody um, to keep everybody as fresh as possible for the harder games to come um, later on in the season, which is going to be played in a span of like 2 or 3 weeks. They will
hmm,
have about 7 games to play in about 2 or 3 weeks. So it is definitely going to be really difficult for them. But like I said, it is still mathematically possible. They still have 2 teams in the top 2 to play. Um, and, I have seen a lot of stranger things in this game. Um,
yeah,
and it is not over until the 15th. All teams have played 15 games. So we'll wait and see.
yeah. Fox.
What part of Tobago is that way?
Well, I was asking you. I think it's Pigeon Point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Really, did that too, eh?
You're going there tomorrow after the game. What we for?
Ah, game finishing after 6, so I go in there for that Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday for that.
You staying all week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're inside then. Um, I wanted to ask you something though. You mentioned that it will be difficult. So we spoke about teams like Trinity East and CIC, not benefiting from the break, right? Like match sharpness, momentum, whatever. But on the flip side, can you look at it as um, Signal Hill will be the fresher team though? You think?
Not necessarily. Because this type of football is a football based on momentum.
Yeah,
And the
for
more
sure.
momentum you have, is the better rhythm that everybody is in. The better, game scenarios and game time cannot be replicated in training. It's a totally different intensity, totally different environment, totally different atmosphere, totally different pressure, totally different mentality as compared to a game. When you're in a game, everything is heightened by 20, 40, 60, 100%. So um, for me and my personal experience playing sports is that the more active I am, the more in tune and in rhythm that I am,
Correct. Yeah.
is the more informed that I will be. If I don't play whatever sport I'm playing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm definitely gonna lose, some of the confidence, some of the rhythm, some of the momentum that I have in my game. So obviously everybody is different, but in my personal opinion and in my personal experience, I think the more consistently and constantly that you're playing is the better form and better rhythm that you'll be. So I mean, while they will
Yeah.
be fresh, it will take a while for them to get going.
Yeah, I think as well what they should have been. I agree with you. I agree with you. I think what they should have been doing, well, more coach man than anything, is just have them and well, I guess it's difficult to watch games because they're not getting broadcasts and stuff. But as much access as they had to see and footage of other teams, use this time to like develop your strategies, how we approaching CIC, how we approaching Trinity East or whoever else you have to play, because you had that time now where you're not focusing on a game this weekend. Okay, we have naps this weekend, we have to go on a plane, we have to play them, and then after the rest. You have time to be, but and then there's the thing with the lack of coverage, because it really, and well, at least I should say the lack of coverage and being in Tobago, because if it was Gustin, they could just go the games in Trinidad easier. But in Tobago, you can't just come across just so and watch Gustin on a Saturday and go back. That's really inconvenient. So it really is more difficult for the Tobago teams with the lack of broadcast, and even with the broadcast, because there's only one game a week anyway, to see like how you would approach a certain team. Because it's possible that Signal Hill never even saw Trinity East play, or whoever. Let me just say somebody didn't get a broadcast, and every time you come across, you have a game. So you can't go and watch a next game, So all those things, make it a bit difficult for the Tobago teams to wear. So you have to give credit to Signal Hill for being, and even Scarborough, being able to kind of get on the board and still remain kind of competitive, right? So that is all the games, but I still wanted to, we still have some time, unless you have to go and pack.
Now, pack after.
What, who's that? Big up Akim. Someone not to defeat CIC 3-2, St. Benedict's to defeat Malik 4-1. Next show, well, you think we can do a show tomorrow night? Anyway, we'll talk that after. But next show, what we should do is do up our score predictions, and we can put it up and discuss it at the end of the episode. Like, we just make a little graphic and put it up. But before we go on to the last topic, I just want to say big up to everybody who has been watching. It's been a consistent viewership. And for all those commenting, don't forget to check out the SSFL Trinidad and Tobago Instagram page. Of course, I guess most of y'all are following it already. But, if you're not, do so. Enrique Rupert on Instagram, of course, The Interception. And, well, subscribe to the YouTube too. And, Akim saying I have one in me tomorrow, Enrique.
I've not.
Well, Akim, let's see.
Yeah, let's see what school you've done. I don't know why I just think I just know everything and everybody. And I just supposed to know what school you're from. Then just be messaging me. We win today.
Yeah,
like, who's we? Why? I don't know. I know who's me. I don't know who's
from. You from Signal Hill?
What school you from, man?
From Signal Hill. From Signal Hill.
I mean, from his profile picture, looking like Signal Hill. I mean, from this very, very small profile picture that I can see from this far, it looked like. but
he commented
I hope tomorrow has a lot of goals. Please don't make me come across to Tobago and it's a 0-0 draw. I will be extremely upset. So if this game could finish like what you said?
Yeah, I think you're delayed a little bit. Yeah, man.
So if this game could finish like 5-4, I'll be really happy.
Yeah. You hear me?
No, I hear you now. What you said?
It delayed, boy. Yeah, man, all right?
You heard me? No, I didn't hear what you said before that.
Oh, I can't even remember actually.
Yeah.
But yeah. So final topic. Well, I see King saying QRC to defeat Trinity is 5-1. I don't know about that. Signal to defeat Scarborough 3-1. I believe the game in Tobago. Okay, Enrique is falling off again. But for the people in the comments, while we wait for him to reconnect, I believe that Tobago game will be broadcast, because a lot of the Tobago games have been broadcast from, over there. So I assume that it should be on YouTube. If we get a link for it, we will share it up on the various pages. The final topic that we wanted to speak about tonight, well, Enrique is still reconnecting, is player of the season so far. Okay. Yeah, man.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. We back. Liu, you
but
outside tomorrow, right? Two
but like I was saying, if that Signal Hill Scarborough game could finish 5-4, I'll be very happy.
I
Just
was
once it's not 0-0 draw, I was see goals. I was see action. I not spending 2 hours or 4 hours on our boat, possibly going and vomit to see a 0-0 draw. I will be upset.
yeah. Um I see Jaden asked him if I outside tomorrow. I will be on the Trinity game, Trinity QRC. Enrique, I was telling them I believe that Tobago game will be broadcast. I think well they have been in their games. So more than likely that should be.
The only thing I'm not sure if it's gonna be live. It might be
Oh, okay,
TV.
okay.
I'm
Okay,
not
okay,
sure.
okay. All right, no problem. Well, yeah. But before you disconnected, I mentioned the topic of player of the season so far. So I see people calling names Josiah Ochoa, Adam Pear, Bailey, I assume that's from Fatima Yellows. Um, I have some players of the season that might not be the mainstream ones because of them not being in top teams. Nobody from Trinities, so I ain't gonna be biased. But one name that I must put is Giovanni Hospitales from St. Augustine. Now, I'm not saying he's the best player in the league, but despite Gustin, not getting results like they might have wanted, he has been their star player. I mean, if you watch the games, good, real good. Every game almost he's scoring. I mean, he did score a lot of penalties to be fair, but still he converted them. So I must give him a mention. Of course, he likes Ochoa, Adam Pear. I see Akim shouting out himself there. Akim, wait, here is Enrique. If Akim don't score tomorrow, he had to do some kind of forfeit, boy. He had to link him and he had to do something. Number 18 for Signal. I don't know what it is, but your player of the season so far. Or not your player of the season, but just some mentions.
Um, I think Jahin Bailey has been instrumental to Fatima's success. Seth Hadid has been instrumental to.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Isaiah Jacob and what he's done with presentation, San Fernando leading a school that's not statistically known to score um, often. I think that has been quite impressive. I think also when you look at St. Benedict's, they have the likes of Adam Page, Josiah Ochoa, Elijah David has come to the front this season.
Yeah.
Um, you know, then you have, atypical shouts like Christian Gomez from Arima North, Darren Gifu from Arima North. Um,
Elijah Diaz from Trinities.
and I more think Deshaun Plaza from Trinity East has
Deshaun.
been
Well, you can call them all.
quite, good. But there are a lot of players that have come to the front for their respective schools. I
Yeah.
think hopefully in the coming weeks we see maybe one or two just set themselves apart from everybody else. Because I don't think there's any clear or front runner for player this season just yet. But like I said, hopefully in the next week or two, we see a couple players just separating themselves from the pack
Yeah.
to say that I think that I deserve to be the player this season.
Yeah. I think also, as you rightfully say, I think in the coming weeks, because for me, what will determine the player of the season, right? So, like, let's say Perez win the league, more than likely it will be because of Jacob. He might step up with his goal scoring again. If Benedict's win the league, you have to look at the Benedict's men. If Fatima win the league, you have to look at Bailey and whoever is in on the goals. Philip Nelson recently picking up some form, but I wouldn't give him player of the season because I don't think he has been consistent from the start. Bailey, as he rightfully said from the start, has been instrumental. You use the word right. And then who's the other person that you mentioned? Can't remember off the bat. But I think whoever win, sorry,
Saturday.
right, Hadid. So I think whoever wins the league for me, I would give them that edge of player of the season because you could say that their performances led to, you know, them ultimately winning the league. And that's normally how it is, eh? Unless somebody has like a real outstanding season, which we aren't really seeing this year. Nobody, I mean, yeah, Jacob has his 13 goals, which is good, but you're not seeing any like, yeah, boy, this man destroying the SSFL. I don't think we're really seeing that this year per se, you know. So I think a lot of it will determine on the outcome of of the league. You know what I mean?
But I mean, also to Isaiah Jacobs' credits as well. When you look at the top goal scorer last season, it was Terrell Garcia. He had 12 or 13 goals. The year before that was Oba Samuel. He had 17 goals. So when you look at the last 2 years at least, I'm not sure how many goals was the top scorer in 2022. But when you look at the last 2 years, he's 3 goals within um, surpassing the highest goal count within the last 2 seasons. So I think whether he's a player of the season or not, I think he's still had an extraordinary season in front of goal. And I think he could only continue growing from strength to strength because he is definitely the difference maker in that press Sando team as well as Nkosi Fonset.
yeah,
Um,
boy.
but yeah, like I said, he 14 goals in 13 rounds, or in press Sando's case, 12 rounds, is quite impressive to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think is it'll be interesting to I vex the title race it up so much because I find it taken away from the relegation battle. But for the league, I'm happy that it kind of balanced out because at that point in time, it really looked like Naps was just going to run away with it. And I know for sure Benedict's and Presmen real happy to see because if it's a case where Naps slip up and one of them take it from them, I feel like it will feel real sweet, boy. Because obviously the South rivalry and that kind of thing. Um, but don't rule out Fatima, It's like, although they have the game in hand ahead of those other guys, I still wouldn't rule them out, per se. Because that Benedict Snaps game could draw. That's a very likely result. And then Fatima could just win all the games. You never know what could happen. Prez could sneak in. The reason I think out of the 4 teams there, and this is no disrespect to Prez, I think they are the least favorable, personally, out of the 4 to win the league. I really think it is between Naps and Benedicts now, but I just find Prez. I know and that's the thing, they could do this to teams where they could score and lock up shop, right? But although Isaiah Jacobs does have all those goals, I still feel like, boy, even like over the past few years, as you say, they're not known for having that cutting edge kind of performances. But that's just me personally. I do see them.
So while you think that they're the least favorite, I actually think they are the favorites to win.
Really?
I think Naps and Benedicts will be preoccupied with each other. Fatima will probably drop points one more time this season. And I
Okay.
think Press Sando will be the ones to quite possibly win all the rest of their games.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's possible, but I just based off of how they play, I don't know. I see it in draw or something. that's just what I'm seeing, But they are still a quality team, so you never know. But yeah, any other topics you have to raise before we sign out?
No, I really just want to congratulate the Big Five, Mokrapo West
Yes.
Secondary, Hillview College, Speyside Secondary, Presentation College Chaguanas, and Palo Seco Secondary on winning the respective championship divisions. Um, Big Five starts on Wednesday, so I think it's going to be, hopefully, it starts on Wednesday and it doesn't start in 2026. Um, but yeah, no, very excited for the Big Five. I think this is quite possibly one of the years where I'm very excited to see who comes up in the Premiership next season. Um, Definitely I think at this point anybody could come up. That I think for sure Speyside will come up.
Yeah,
The other two spots I think are quite possibly up for debate still. So we just had to wait and see who um, picks up those two spots and wants to play Premiership football next season.
yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff, boy. You want to take some questions or you want to sign off there?
Yeah, we could do about 5 minutes again.
Yeah. Well, if you all have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you're not, you can always check out the various social media pages: SSFL, Trinidad and Tobago, Interception, Enrique Rupert, NJ Productions, and of course subscribe to the Interception on YouTube as well. I see Kingsley saying St. Benedict's, I think, will win the league this season. I mean, that's a fair think. They tend to do well coming on to the end, as we have discussed. Tane Devonish, best player, for getting his first goal against Caps East. Tane Devonish is a good keeper. I don't know how he has been doing in games as of late. I guess well, because they've been winning, but I don't think he had the best start to the season.
He
Remember,
was he was definitely poor in the Fatima game.
Fatima game, yeah, and that was the crazy thing with that dog. As you remember, we sat down right there, and he was like, "Yeah, boy, Tane is one of the best keepers in the league." And like 10 minutes later, Bailey hit him that free kick, and you and I were saving that, and that was out of character.
My almost 80-year-old grandmother was saving that.
Yeah, that
Really
was a
just
strange
poor.
one.
It's really just poor from him in that game, and I think it was the entire game. It was poor from him. Not. I don't think he made any crucial saves in that one.
Nah,
Um, but yeah, like I said, he is quite possibly one of the better keepers in this league. Um, I'm not sure how he's been doing because obviously there's no streams to watch. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
who's the
My mom,
biggest disappointment so far?
yeah, that's why I was now gone. Um, he plays winger also. He's very fast. The biggest disappointment for me so far, I don't think, to be honest, it will have to be someone not. I don't think there have been any real disappointments. I feel like the table is how it is. The big teams on top, the middle teams kind of middle, QRC, CIC, Arima. Like we expected that. Trinity East, we expected them to kind of be, fighting. I think we'll be safe, but you expected them at the bottom. I would say maybe Book, because no, I know you said that Book would have actually gotten relegated this year. I think you mentioned that. So maybe it's not a surprise for you, but I feel like it just had some results where they kind of threw it away. So, for instance, when they played Gustin, they missed two penalties. No, keeper saved them, right? But certain results, you think they would have put it away, and by now, they would not have really been in that relegation battle. So, for me personally, that is probably the biggest surprise, I would say. I might even put Prez as a surprise in the sense that I didn't really expect them to be in the title race. Now, they're always a good team, but I always, just like I mentioned, Arima, I see Prez as more a cup side than a league side because I expect them to be drawing games, but they started off killing teams, and that kind of gave them that foothold, and now we're seeing them grinding out those results. What do you think?
For me, the biggest disappointment has been Kai East.
Wait
Definitely,
now, I know say Prez was a surprise, not a
yeah,
disappointment. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, for me, the biggest disappointment have been China East. Definitely expected them to do a lot better. I know they came into the season with a lot of challenges, most of it's financially. But one, they've done really well to play out of the 13 rounds. They played 12 games so far. So they quite possibly on track. I don't think any of their games have been postponed, if I'm not mistaken. But they've definitely been a disappointment in terms of not getting wins. That's one. And just showing a little
Points.
fight. You know, when you look at the two teams but that was at the bottom of the table in 2024, you had two teams on 7 points and a team on like 4 points. The year before that, you had a team on 5 points, and then you had a team on like 9 points and a team on 4 points. So, when you look at those at the bottom of the table, over the last two seasons, they got wins. And, Carpetcham are not going to get a win, or they're not going to get a point this season. And that for me is quite disappointing.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
is.
definitely Carpetcham have been the biggest disappointments in 2025 Premiership season.
Yeah. And because even Miracle Ministries last year, they got wins.
Yep.
Oh, I told Akim that if he don't score, you have a forfeit to do. So he asking, what if I do score?
Don't look at me. I
Score.
just
If you score, dog. You might then only go win.
if you score, you'll get interviewed. I was.
Who you all think getting promoted? I think you mentioned it, Enrique. Who you think will be your teams coming up?
I think Speyside will win the Big Five.
Yes, Speyside for sure. The Mantas.
I think Presentation Chagonas have a good shout of coming second. And
No Hillview, boy?
I pre in Hillview. Right?
Oh.
Hillview right off. Right? Hillview will not come up this year. I swear to God, Hillview will not come up this year. And I really hoping Palaseco Secondary come up as a third spot. But I am praying Hillview College. I go in by the Obia man this week and pre Hillview College football team. I mean, when you look at them last season, they went undefeated in the zonal phase, and then when they went to the Big Five, they came fourth. So, and a lot of people thinking that they're gonna have the easiest chance to come up again, but I don't think the other four teams are quite as easy as they possibly think. So, the only thing I would say about Hillview is that they don't have to go across Tobago. I think they're the only team that does not have to go across the Tobago. No, I think that man, another team doesn't have to go across the Tobago. So, I mean, that will be the only benefit to them, that they stay in Trinidad for all their Big Five games. But, yeah, I agree in them. So,
fair. And a last question before we wrap up. Do you think SSFL players should be allowed to play? Enrique did give TC pizza. Well, we'll come to that. Do you think SSFL players should be allowed to play in the TTPL league, even though the school league is still in play? I don't think so.
yeah, I don't think so either.
That's a big risk. They're not even supposed to be sweating on things. So far more to go and play in a big man league. Look what happened to Michael Shaves. Imagine if that happened to him during the thing when Fatima was, So I definitely don't think that it's not a case of it being fair. I just don't think it's wise. Players from NAPS. Yeah, we didn't really talk about any NAPS players actually. We were just talking about them as a collective. The team itself. But of course, for me, the standout, at least in the past couple of weeks, has been Jacob O'Reilly. He's been really good in the midfield. But they just have an all-round good team. I think Elijah Edwards, Raymond.
Yeah, I think the player that has impressed me the most from NAPS is Elijah Edwards, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's very solid defensively as a centre back. And I think he also is one of those hybrid centre backs that takes the opportunity to go forward any opportunity he gets. Sometimes he'll go from one end of the pitch to the other end of the pitch in a snap of a finger. But like I said, it's just because he is playing in a NAPS team that understands football to the extent where you don't have to tell a player when the centre back goes forward for another player to cover. They do that automatically. But like you said, it's a good all-round team. But the player that has impressed me the most from them is Elijah Edwards.
Yeah. Enrique, did you give TC the pizza party or money when they did win?
I said at the end of the league season, they'll get their pizza. I
Yeah.
didn't say they'll get it immediately.
Next thing, men get pizza and men start to get lazy and thing dog, and they say it's because of Enrique and the pizza. Actually, funny enough, I think Trinity teams they have them on that. Well, they're supposed to be eating properly, and I think they have one cheat day for the week. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the details of it, so yeah, best you really wait until after the season. Um, yeah, Lacan. We just spoke about enough players speaking that they have their standouts, but we believe that is more all round team. But Elijah Edwards has been the standout. Also Jacob O'Reilly, but Elijah Edwards. Who was better last year, Darrell Garcia or Isaiah? For me personally, I think Darrell Garcia, although you mentioned he scored less goals, he did miss some games, I believe, at the beginning of the season. But also, I just think he's the more lethal player. Like, personally, some of the goals he was scoring last year is like oldies almost. And I believe, like, if you were to put them like in the national team, let's say, I would say Darrell more ready for like a national team setup than Isaiah Jacobs. And I feel like, and there's no disrespect to Isaiah, he's a good player. But I feel like with Darrell, what makes him so good, and I'm not glazing him, I know these men, as soon as they start to big up somebody, they'll tell you glazing, glazing. I just talking fact. I think what set Darrell ahead of players here now, and I was going to mention that even though Adam Kerr might not be the player of the season this year, I still think he's the best player in the league, personally, just in terms of level and confidence. And I think he's the best player in the league, ability wise. But I think what has them in that tier for me, and you mentioned it earlier, the confidence and momentum, they have real confidence. See, Darrell Garcia, he's a real confident footballer, not afraid to take on anybody. And as I say, that's why I would have seen him score some of the goals he scored last year, because he's confident in himself to take those opportunities. I don't know if you remember the goals he scored against is Malik. Yeah, Malik in QRC. That game was on Sportsmart. Like two long range screamers. You don't remember? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's like ability, yeah, but confidence to do it, boy, and to back yourself. And he has been like that since small. I saw him play in the Republic Cup in 2020, somewhere around there. Can't remember. And the man scored like 4 goals in the final, logo like a hat. Like he had, how much he scored in that final, boy? I can't remember. And he went play at the tournament. And people will say it cocky and thing, but he has that confidence, and I believe that's why he has that level, and that's why I'll give him the edge over Isaiah Jacob. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think when you're looking at impact, I think it's definitely Darrell Garcia, but I think Isaiah Jacob is a more complete footballer um, than he is.
Okay.
When you look at Isaiah Jacob, especially this season, he's able to make everybody around him elevate their game and raise their game as well. Um, I think as an, I mean,
But you don't think Darrell did that too?
um, I think Darrell had a little more help than
Better players. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
he had a more complete squad around him as compared to Isaiah Jacob. But when you look at Isaiah Jacob in that game against Naprima, all of Press Sando's play was going through him. You know, then he would spread the ball to the left, to the right. He would hold it up. You know, he had the assist on the game winning goal as well too. I think a lot of people missed that because I don't think
Yeah, he
the
got the
video
assist.
the video started a little bit after when I think when the ball was passed, so it was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
before the cut. So, you know, I think when you look at completeness as a player, I think Isaiah Jacob is more complete. But I think when you look at impact, I think Gerald Garcia is definitely more impactful. Um, two games and two teams than Isaiah Jacob is.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I think I have it here. Hold on, let me see. That was who Naps Perez. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, 1 second. What do you think of Adam Pereira? We just mentioned it. I don't know if you agree with me, Enrique, but I think in terms of ability and level, I think he's the best player in the SSF. Sorry, in the SSFL right now. Um,
I seriously think Adam Pearce should be in the senior national team. Even if he's not playing, he should be at least training with our squad. I think he's
Here's the goal. Let's see. Yeah, so here he picks it up here. Yeah, drop in deep, and then yeah, he did get the assist. So you're right. Hey, for all the naps, man, anything hard luck, boy. But yeah, so if you go back again, you will see him drop in deep because he's their striker, and watch how deep he is, even behind because the ball was won. And look at that position he taken up there. He not supposed to be there.
like I said, all of their plays were going through him, and I think when you look at completeness as a player, I think he's a little bit better than Durrell Garcia is, in terms of that.
Yeah,
But yeah, but with Adam Pearce, I definitely think he has one of the highest ceilings that I've ever seen for a youth player. Um, I think he should be on the senior men's national team, and like I said, even if he's not playing, he should be around that team, gaining that kind of experience.
yeah,
Um, because he's still relatively young. I think he's like 16, 17 or somewhere thereabout.
crazy.
Um, and for me, I think when you look at players in Europe, you look at whoever
I mean, yeah, well,
right? And
yeah,
you look at other players in Europe who start their careers at 14, 15, 16.
yeah, boy.
We are fortunate if we get a player in Europe at the age of 21.
Yeah,
I think definitely we should be doing a lot more to get youth players in senior national, not only senior national team, but just in general in senior teams, to give them that exposure and to give them that experience,
yeah,
to
I agree.
um, you know, hopefully make it outside of the country.
Yeah. They're asking about fun set.
Um, I think Fonset is very similar to Adam Gay. I think probably one of the better center midfielders in Trinidad,
For
in a
sure.
country where the senior national team is lacking central midfielders. And he has the height, he has the physical ability, physical attributes to be a good center mid. I think it's just on him to continue being disciplined, and um, hopefully we see him take his game to the next level as well too.
Yeah. Before we go, I just want to show you all one more thing. Um, as to why I think Adam Pear, well, just one of the reasons I think he's one of the best. Um, big up, big up Seth Zidane. Here's what said Zidane. He's reacted like SSFL and things. See me in the corner there.
Sometimes if I scroll on SSFL TikTok pages, I
Yeah.
just watch, I see it pop up.
Nah, he's kicks, he's kicks. All everybody there go and follow Seth on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. Man, is real kicks. But this goal here, right, just sums up Adam Pear for me. A rugged kind of Steven Gerrard kind of thing. And you mentioned the man is 16. Just take a look at this.
We see the
Big
armband.
up Tobago Sports Live.
Ooh!
Yeah. Who is correct? I don't think men understand the that is not a fluke goal. Sometimes you see those goals
We
like
see the
from
armband.
far out and
We
then
see the
looping
armband.
in and keep a sun in the eye and thing. That is a laser beam, dog.
Ooh!
That is almost unsavable.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's like,
I think he scored one really similar to that on the 17 national level earlier this year. I think was it a Thunderbolt
We see the
boy?
armband, bro. We
that's
I
see
goal
the
of the
believe it,
season,
I
Nothing
believe it
beating
was.
that.
Ooh!
But yeah, no, like I said, he is extremely good to be honest, and I really hope that
Don't say the way on the goalpost is.
That is
yeah,
crazy. One
I
more
really hope
time.
that he somehow makes it out of Trinidad to play abroad.
Yeah, and he should. Last time. I real watch this, When he hit that, it stay hit, It was perfect trajectory. What a goal.
I think it even continued rising.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, go and follow said Zidane. But yeah, so Adam Pear definitely quality. Who knows, he might score tomorrow. But that is all we have for tonight. Thank you for everybody who stayed in. There's have like a consistent 25 men in here. I don't know who it is, but thanks for your support. So you say next week.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, we'll be back
Monday,
out next. Huh?
next week Monday.
Yeah, next week Monday we'll be back out again. Again, thanks for coming out, everybody who was in the comments. Actually, somebody commented any Compre players. I don't know if he's still in here. Um, but we did talk about Compre a bit earlier on, and the talent that they have is just for discipline for them to really take it to that next level. But thanks for commenting, Phoenix, Jared, Toilet, um, Jadon, Malidan, everybody who has been inside. Big up for all the players who are inside. Akim, all the best tomorrow in your games. And we will see you all. Well, next week we'll be back out for episode 3 of the SSFL show. So big up and have a good one.